The silver shackles burned against Alice's wrists. Not iron like common prisoners wore, but blessed silver meant to suppress a wolf's power. Two beta guards, Rydell and Corvin Ash, dragged her through the obsidian corridors of Walcrest Palace. Her bare feet left faint streaks of blood on the polished black stone. Alice had survived 21 years in the shadows of this territory. 21 years sleeping under bridge arches when winter winds howled. 21 years eating scraps from tavern refuse, drinking from cold streams, speaking only to the wild wolves who found her abandoned as an infant in the northern wastelands. She never understood why other shifters looked at her with such contempt, why mothers pulled their children away when she passed, why merchants refused her coin even when she managed to earn a few pieces doing labor no one else would touch. Now she understood. Someone with power wanted her destroyed. "Can't believe they're wasting the Alpha King's time with this worthless mongrel," Rydell muttered, his grip on her arm bruising. Corvin laughed. "High Elder's daughter wants entertainment. We provide entertainment." Alice kept her eyes down. Words only made things worse for nobodies like her. She learned that lesson young, before she could even remember learning it. Silence was survival. The massive obsidian doors ahead grew larger with each step. Behind them waited judgment. Behind them waited the Alpha King himself. Behind them waited her death, probably. What else would they do with an outcast accused of blasphemy? The guard stopped. Rydell knocked twice, the sound echoing through the corridor like thunder. The doors opened. Light and noise crashed over Alice like a physical wave. The grand hall stretched before her, vast and terrible. Tiered obsidian seating rose toward a vaulted ceiling painted with the Luna's phases. Hundreds of ranked wolves filled those seats, their eyes hungry for entertainment, for blood, for the spectacle of watching someone beneath them be destroyed. And at the center of it all, elevated on a black marble dais, sat the obsidian throne. The guards dragged Alice forward. She tried not to stumble, tried to maintain some dignity even as her knees hit the cold floor in the center of the hall. The shackles weighed heavy on her wrists. The assembled wolves stared down at her like she was nothing. Maybe she was nothing. Maybe they were right. Alice forced herself to look up. Alpha King Lamar Ironville sat upon the obsidian throne with the bearing of someone who had never questioned his right to rule. Broad-shouldered, commanding, dark hair falling to his collar. Storm-gray eyes that missed nothing. He wore midnight furs and black leather that spoke of absolute authority. His expression remained unreadable as he studied her. Alice felt the weight of his gaze like physical pressure against her skin. Her wolf stirred deep inside, restless in a way she didn't understand. "There she is, my king." The woman's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Alice's attention snapped to the figure stepping forward from beside the throne. Nivra Ravenholt moved with the confidence of someone who had never been denied anything. Tall, elegant in deep violet silk, raven-black hair cascading in perfect waves past her shoulders. Emerald eyes like poison. Beautiful in the way predators are beautiful right before they strike. The worthless stray who dares spread blasphemy about carrying sacred marks. Nivra circled Alice slowly, deliberately, her silk gown whispering against obsidian floor. The crowd leaned forward in their seats, feeding on the performance. "Look at her," Nivra continued, her voice dripping with contempt. "Does she look like someone the Luna would bless? She's barely more than a rogue." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Alice kept her eyes on the floor, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Explain the charges, Nivra." Lamar's voice carried absolute authority, not loud, but commanding. Every wolf in the hall fell silent instantly. Nivra's smile sharpened. "Of course, my king. This creature told the village healer, Thalin, that she dreams in silver light, that the Luna whispers a name she can't remember, that she sees visions of wolves made of moonbeams." She paused for effect, letting the words settle over the crowd. "She claims divine favor. She insults the Luna herself by suggesting that someone so worthless could carry Moonborn markers." The crowd erupted, shouts of outrage, calls for punishment. Alice's vision blurred at the edges. She wanted to disappear, wanted to shift and run back to the forest where the wild wolves would protect her. I never claimed to be. Rydell's hand clamped over her mouth, cutting off her words. His grip was painful. His wolf snarled through his skin, daring her to resist. Let her speak. Lamar's voice cracked like a whip. The hand dropped instantly. Alice gasped for air, her heart racing. Every wolf in the hall stared at her, waiting. I never claimed to be anyone important, Alpha King. Her voice came out smaller than she intended, shakier. I only told the healer about my dreams because she asked why I always seemed afraid to sleep. I thought maybe the Luna took pity on me because I'm alone. Nivra laughed. The sound was beautiful and cruel. How touching. The stray thinks the Luna cares about her suffering. She turned to Lamar, her expression shifting to something calculating. There's a simple way to settle this, isn't there, my king? Make her shift. If she truly carries blessed blood, her wolf will prove it. But if she's lying, if she's just another weak Omega with delusions, her wolf will show that too. The whole court will witness her shame. Panic flooded through Alice's chest. She had never shifted in front of another person. The wild wolves taught her in secret, deep in the forest where no one could see. She had no idea what her wolf looked like to others, only that it felt different somehow. Lighter, stranger. Lamar leaned forward slightly, his storm-gray eyes fixed on her face. The pressure of his attention made it hard to breathe. Can you shift? The question was surprisingly gentle, as if he actually cared about the answer. Alice's throat tightened. Yes, Alpha King. Then do it, now. A guard unlocked the silver shackles. They fell away with a metallic clang. Alice stood on shaking legs, acutely aware of hundreds of eyes waiting for her humiliation, waiting to watch her fail. Nivra stood to the side with her arms crossed, barely contained glee dancing in her emerald eyes. This was what she wanted, public proof that Alice was nothing. Alice closed her eyes, reached for the familiar warmth of her wolf, that constant companion since childhood. Her wolf surged forward immediately, eager and unafraid. Please, Alice thought desperately, please don't let them hurt us. The transformation began. Bones reshaped, muscles reformed. The pain was familiar, manageable. Alice had learned years ago to breathe through it, to let the shift flow instead of fighting it. But something was different this time. The moment her transformation completed, a collective gasp rippled through the grand hall. Sharp, shocked, echoing off obsidian walls like thunder. Alice opened her eyes. They were molten gold now instead of her usual brown. She looked down at herself and froze. Her fur wasn't gray or brown, or even the rare black of alpha bloodlines. She glowed. Silver-white fur covered her body, and threads of actual light ran through it. Not reflected light. Real light, pulsing gently with each breath she took. Where her paws touched the obsidian floor, tiny points of luminescence spread outward like ripples in water. She was larger than she realized, too. Nearly the size of a beta wolf, impossible for someone who had been half-starved her entire life. This is a trick. Nivra's voice shattered the stunned silence. Some kind of dark magic, some illusion. A starlight wolf hasn't been born in 5 centuries. She can't be. Her words died. Behind the obsidian throne stood a statue Alice had barely noticed when she first entered. Carved from white marble, 20 feet tall, depicting the Luna herself. The same statue that had watched over Wallcrest gatherings for 400 years. Unchanging, eternal. The statue was moving. Stone ground against stone. Slow, deliberate. The sound made Alice's fur stand on end. The Luna's marble face turned until it pointed directly at Alice. Her carved eyes seemed to glow with inner light. Her hands shifted from their prayer position to blessing, palms open, extended downward in a gesture that could not be mistaken for anything else. Divine favor. Undeniable. Absolute. The hall erupted into chaos. Wolves leaped to their feet, shouting, arguing. Some fell to their knees in reverence. Others stumbled backward in naked fear. Nivra's face drained of all color. No, this isn't. Everyone quiet. Lamar's voice didn't shout, didn't need to. Power rolled through his words like a physical command. Every wolf in the hall fell silent instantly, their heads lowering in automatic submission. He rose from the obsidian throne in one fluid motion. His massive presence dominated the space. Alice could see his wolf close to the surface now. His eyes had gone completely silver. Power radiated from him in waves that made every wolf in the room drop their gaze. Every wolf except Alice. She couldn't look away from him. He descended the dais steps slowly, never breaking eye contact. Each step brought him closer. Alice's wolf made a sound deep in her chest. Not quite a growl, not quite a whine, something else entirely. Her instincts whispered a single word. Recognition. Lamar stopped 3 feet from her glowing form. She could feel the heat of him. Smell cedar and night air and something wild that called to her very bones. A starlight wolf. His voice was rough, raw, the Luna's own blessed form. He reached out one hand slowly, palm up, giving her time to retreat if she wanted. May I? Alice didn't understand what he was asking, but her wolf did. She lowered her head, allowing his fingers to brush through the glowing fur at her neck. The moment his skin made contact, light blazed between them. Silver and white intertwining, visible to everyone watching. Alice felt it like lightning down her spine, the mate bond snapping into place with enough force to make her stagger. Lamar's eyes widened. He felt it too. For a moment, the entire world narrowed to just this, the bond humming between them, singing with rightness, with certainty, with a connection so fundamental it rewrote everything Alice thought she knew about herself. Lamar's hands were shaking. His wolf surged so close to the surface that his breathing turned ragged. Everyone out. The words came out barely above a whisper but carried absolute authority. Now. The crowd moved as one, scrambling toward the exits. Nobles and betas and highborn families who sat in judgment moments ago were now fleeing. They sensed the predator beneath their king's skin, sensed how close he was to losing control. Nivra lingered near the dais, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. Lamar, you can't possibly. I said out Nivra. She flinched like he struck her. For a moment it looked like she might argue, might try to cling to whatever claim she thought she had on him. But Lamar's wolf was too close, his power too absolute. She turned and fled. The massive doors slammed shut behind her, leaving Alice and Lamar alone in the vast hall. Silence pressed down on them, deafening after all the chaos. Alice shifted back to human form, not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't maintain the transformation with her heart racing like this. The glow faded, leaving her standing naked and vulnerable with the most powerful alpha in the kingdom staring at her like she had rewritten his entire world. He moved without hesitation, shrugged out of his midnight fur cloak and draped it around her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, still warm from his body, carrying his scent. What's your name? Alice, just Alice. I don't have a family name. You do now. He cupped her face in both hands, tilting her chin up so she had no choice but to meet his eyes. The silver was fading back to storm gray, but the intensity remained. You're my mate. The Luna herself just confirmed what my wolf knew the moment you walked into this hall. Do you understand what that means? Alice shook her head. Her thoughts were spinning too fast to process anything coherent. I don't understand any of this. I don't know why my wolf looks like that, or why the statue moved, or why you're... Her voice cracked. I'm nobody. I sleep under bridges. I eat scraps from tavern refuse. Yesterday I was grateful to find half a stale loaf of bread. Now you're saying I'm your mate. Something fierce and protective flashed across his face. His thumbs stroked her cheekbones with surprising gentleness. You're not nobody. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. He kept one hand on her shoulder, steady, grounding, real in a way nothing else felt right now. Tell me everything. How did you end up alone? Who were your parents? Alice pulled his cloak tighter around herself. For the first time in 21 years, someone actually wanted to listen. Someone with the power to protect her was asking her to speak. She told him what little she knew. Found as an infant in burned ruins near the northern border, no one claimed her. The pack in that territory said she cried for 3 days before a wild wolf pack came and took her into the woods. The wild wolves raised her, taught her to hunt and survive, kept her hidden and safe in their own way. When she was old enough to shift, they showed her how, but always in secret, always alone. She learned early that other shifters didn't want someone with no pack, no family, no place in their hierarchy. She was 21 now, still sleeping under bridges, still eating whatever she could find, still alone except for the wild wolves who sometimes howled to her from the forest depths. Lamar's jaw tightened as she spoke. His hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. The northern border, 21 years ago. It wasn't a question. His voice had gone flat, dangerous. The Moonborn purge. The words meant nothing to Alice, but they clearly meant something to him. He turned toward the Luna statue. It remained facing them, blessing unmistakable. The marble hands still extended in approval. The Moonborn line were the most powerful family in the kingdom, direct descendants of the first wolves blessed by the Luna herself. His voice was carefully controlled now, too controlled. They could communicate with her, receive visions, prophecies. Their wolves carried her light. He gestured to where Alice had stood glowing moments ago. Just like yours. Alice's chest tightened. That's impossible. I'm nothing. I'm weak. You're not weak. He was in front of her again, hands framing her face, forcing her to hold his gaze. Moonborn wolves couldn't be ranked by traditional standards. They existed outside the hierarchy because they answered to the Luna herself. What you've been reading as weakness was probably suppressed power. You've been half-starved and alone your entire life. No wonder your wolf seemed small. The words were too big, too impossible. If that's true, why didn't anyone find me? Why didn't anyone look for survivors? His expression darkened. Because I was 7 years old when it happened, and King Maddoxon's storm, my predecessor, was Alpha King. Alice's blood ran cold at the way he said it. He declared the entire Moonborn line eliminated. Killed by rogues, he said. He ordered the territory burned and sealed. No one was allowed to investigate. His voice dropped to something dangerous, lethal. No one was allowed to look for survivors because he didn't want survivors found. Your predecessor killed my family. The words came out barely audible. Alice felt like the ground was falling away beneath her feet. I don't know for certain, but I'm going to find out. He pulled her closer. His arms came around her in a gesture both protective and possessive. The mate bond pulsed between them, warm and steady. I swear to you, Alice, on my life, on my pack, on the Luna herself, I will uncover the truth, and I will keep you safe. Alice wanted to pull away, wanted to run, wanted to hide in the forest with the wild wolves who never demanded anything except survival. But her wolf was purring under his touch. The mate bond was singing through her veins like joy and certainty. She realized with a jolt that she didn't want to run, not from him. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. His answer was raw, primal, completely honest. You're mine. The moment you walked into this hall, my wolf knew. The Luna confirmed it. He pulled back just enough to look at her properly. And even without the bond, even without all of that, I would never let them hurt someone who's been suffering since childhood because of crimes committed by the previous generation. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Lamar's head snapped toward the sound. A growl built in his chest that made the hair on Alice's arms stand up. I said I wanted privacy. The doors opened anyway. 3 men entered, older, wearing elaborate robes of the High Council. The one in front was silver-haired and sharp-eyed. He moved with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. Elder Zarek Grimwell took in the scene with practiced calm, Lamar standing protectively in front of Alice. The Luna statue still turned in blessing, the lingering traces of starlight power in the air. Alpha King, his voice was smooth, too smooth. We must speak with you immediately. This matter concerns the stability of the entire kingdom. Lamar didn't move from his protective position in front of Alice. His body blocked her from the Elder's direct line of sight. Elder Zarek, I don't recall summoning the council. The Elder's eyes flicked to Alice, sharp, calculating. The transformation we witnessed, the statue's movement, these are events of extraordinary significance. The two men behind him nodded. Elder Averic Lockmere and Elder Carson Wilder. Both wore expressions of concern that didn't quite reach their eyes. If this girl truly carries Moonborn blood, there are protocols, Zarek continued. Bloodline verification, historical review, investigation into. She's not this girl. Lamar's power filled the room, making the elders take an involuntary step backward. She's my mate, and she'll be treated with the respect that position demands. The three elders exchanged glances. Averic cleared his throat. Of course, Alpha King, we meant no disrespect, but surely you understand, the Moonborn line was believed extinct. If she survived, others may have as well. There could be claims to territory, to power, to nothing that threatens my authority, if your concern is my position. The words came out clipped, dangerous. Alice is under my protection. She will stay in the palace. She will be guarded. And anyone who even thinks about harming her will answer to me personally. He let his wolf rise close enough to the surface that his eyes flashed silver. Are we clear? Yes, Alpha King. The response came from Averic and Carson immediately. Zarek was slower to submit. His calculating gaze remained fixed on Alice with an intensity that made her skin crawl. And what of Nivra Ravenholt? His voice carried just a hint of challenge. The betrothal contract between your families was signed and witnessed. The noble houses expect. The contract is void. Lamar's words were absolute, final. There will be no marriage to Nivra. The Luna chose my mate for me. The council can draw up whatever documents are needed to formalize that. He took a step forward. The elders took a step back. Dismissed. They had no choice. Council members they might be, but the Alpha King's word was law. They bowed and retreated, but Alice saw the way Zarek's eyes narrowed, the way his lips pressed into a thin line. This wasn't over. When the doors closed behind them, Lamar turned to her. His expression shifted from commanding to something softer, almost apologetic. I'm sorry, this is too much too fast. Alice pulled his cloak tighter around herself. Everything in my life changed in the last hour. I don't even know what to feel. You don't have to feel anything right now except safe. He moved toward a side door she hadn't noticed before, hidden behind a tapestry depicting wolves running beneath the full moon. I'm taking you to my private chambers. You'll sleep, eat, recover. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. She should protest, should be terrified of going anywhere alone with him, with any male, let alone the Alpha King. But exhaustion crashed over her in waves. The mate bond hummed with trust, with rightness, with bone-deep certainty that he would protect her. Okay. His chambers were nothing like the cold obsidian halls, warm wood and soft furs, a massive fireplace already burning, windows overlooking endless forest that made Alice's wolf stir with longing. He brought her sleep clothes that would swallow her whole, showed her the bathing room with its deep copper tub and hot running water, luxury she'd only heard about, never experienced. I'll sleep out here. You can have the bed. His voice was gentle, patient. I won't touch you unless you want me to. The offer was so unexpectedly kind that Alice felt tears prick her eyes. She ducked her head so he wouldn't see. Thank you. She bathed quickly, scrubbing away grime and fear and the memory of silver shackles burning her wrists. The water turned gray, then black. When she emerged wearing Lamar's sleep shirt, drowning in fabric that smelled like cedar and safety, he'd laid out food. Real food. More than she'd seen in months. Bread still warm from the ovens, cheese that didn't have mold on the edges, fresh fruit, roasted meat that made her mouth water. Eat, please. He watched her with fierce protectiveness. You're too thin. Alice sat at the small table. Her hands shook as she reached for the bread. She tried to eat slowly. tried not to cry at the simple kindness of someone caring whether she was fed. But tears came anyway. Lamar moved to kneel beside her chair. His hand covered hers gently. "You're safe now. I promise you're safe." She nodded, couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. When she finally finished eating, he guided her to his bed. Massive and soft and smelling of cedar and midnight forests. Alice climbed in, and the furs swallowed her whole. Lamar settled into the chair by the fire, not the bed, keeping his distance even though the mate bond pulled between them like a physical tether. "Sleep, Alice, I'll keep watch." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. You're mine to protect now." Alice drifted off to those words, to the sound of fire crackling, to the overwhelming sense that her life had transformed as dramatically as her wolf had in the grand hall. She slept deeply for the first time in years, dreamless and safe. She didn't see Lamar rise from his chair hours later, didn't see him pull ancient texts from hidden shelves, didn't see the way his expression darkened as he read about the Moonborn purge by candlelight. But she felt, even in sleep, the moment his decision crystallized. He would find everyone responsible for what happened to her family. And he would make them pay. Alice woke to morning light streaming through the windows. For a moment she forgot where she was, then memory crashed back. The throne room, the transformation, the mate bond. Lamar. She sat up quickly, looking for him. He stood at the window, fully dressed in leather and dark wool. Papers were spread across his desk. Books lay open. He'd been working all night. "You're awake." He turned, and Alice saw exhaustion in the lines around his eyes. But something else, too. Determination. Anger barely leashed. "I found something." He crossed to the bed, sitting on the edge, close but not crowding her, always careful of her space. "There are sealed archives in the lower levels of the palace, documents from King Maddoxon's reign that were locked away after his death." His voice was carefully controlled. "I had them opened last night." Alice pulled the furs around herself. "What did you find?" "Orders signed by Maddoxon himself, authorizing a military strike against the Northern Territory." His jaw clenched. "The official record says it was a response to rogue attacks, but the actual orders tell a different story." He reached for one of the papers on the desk, brought it back to show her. The parchment was old, yellowed, but the writing was clear. He ordered the elimination of the Moonborn line, complete extermination, no survivors. Alice's hands shook as she took the paper, the words blurred. She couldn't read well, never had formal schooling, but she recognized enough. Threat to crown authority. Divine favor creates dangerous precedent. Solution must be permanent. "They killed my family because people loved them." "Yes," Lamar's voice was rough, furious. The Moonborn line was becoming more beloved than the crown. Their visions guided the people. Their divine connection gave them influence Maddoxon couldn't compete with, so instead of sharing power, he chose genocide. He took the paper back gently, set it aside. "I'm going to find everyone involved. Every soldier who carried out the orders. Every elder who advised Maddoxon. Every noble who profited from stealing Moonborn territories." Alice looked up at him. This male who had known her for less than a day and was already planning revenge for crimes she'd barely begun to process. "Why are you doing this?" He cupped her face in his hands. The gesture was becoming familiar, grounding. "Because you're my mate. Because what they did to you, to your family, is unforgivable." His thumbs stroked her cheekbones. "And because I will never be the kind of king who allows innocent people to be slaughtered for political convenience." The mate bond pulsed between them, warm and steady and certain. Alice leaned into his touch. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. "What do we do now?" "Now you eat breakfast. Then we're going to the archives together. I want you to see everything I found." He stood, offering his hand. Alice took it. They spent the morning in the deep archives beneath the palace. Lamar showed her document after document, orders for the attack, maps marking Moonborn territories, lists of families targeted for elimination. And names. So many names of people, who helped plan the massacre. Elder Zarek Grimwell appeared repeatedly. Not as the one who signed orders, that was Maddoxon, but as an advisor. Someone who counseled the Alpha King, someone who helped orchestrate every detail. He was there, Alice whispered, staring at Zarek's signature on a strategic planning document. He helped kill my family, and yesterday he stood in that hall and questioned my right to exist. Lamar's hand found her lower back, steady, supporting. He won't get away with it, I promise you that. They were interrupted by a knock at the archive door. A young beta woman entered, bowing low. Alpha King, forgive the intrusion, but there's a situation in the main hall. Lamar's expression hardened. What kind of situation? Noble families are gathering. Lady Nivra is leading them. They're demanding an audience. Demanding. His power rolled through the single word. The beta dropped lower in submission. They say it concerns the stability of the kingdom, Alpha King. They say you've been compromised. Lamar's growl made the stone walls vibrate. They found the nobles gathered in the grand entrance hall. Not the throne room where Alice had been forced to shift, but the public space where pack members came to petition their king. 30 nobles at least, maybe 40, led by Nivra Ravenholt, who stood at the front in crimson silk that made her look like a splash of blood against obsidian walls. Lamar strode toward them with Alice at his side. He'd given her proper clothes, simple but well-made. She still felt out of place next to all this wealth and power, but the mate bond steadied her. Explain yourselves. Lamar's voice carried absolute authority. Several nobles in the back shifted uncomfortably. Nivra lifted her chin. We're here out of concern for you, Lamar, and for the pack. Alpha King, he corrected coldly. You will address me properly or you will leave. Her jaw tightened. Alpha King, forgive me. The words dripped with false sweetness. We're concerned that you've been compromised, bewitched, perhaps. No one can deny the spectacle we witnessed yesterday, but there are questions, legitimate questions about who this girl really is. Her name is Alice. She's my mate. Those are the only facts that matter. But the circumstances. The Luna herself blessed her. Lamar's power filled the hall, making wolves press back against the walls. The statue moved. You all saw it. Are you questioning divine will? Nivra's composure cracked slightly. Of course not, but dark magic can mimic. Dark magic. His words were soft now, deadly. You're accusing the Luna of being fooled by dark magic. Silence fell like a hammer. One of the older nobles stepped forward. Lord Thorneck Ravenholt, Nivra's father, a man with silver at his temples and calculation in his eyes. No one questions the Luna, Alpha King, but we question the timing. The Moonborn line attempted to overthrow your predecessor. They were traitors. If this girl carries their blood, she carries their treason. Alice felt the words like a physical blow. Lamar's hand found hers, squeezing gently. The Moonborn line was massacred, he said flatly. Entire families burned alive. Children murdered in their beds. That's not justice for treason. That's genocide. Gasps rippled through the assembled nobles. Thorneck's expression didn't change. Those are strong words, Alpha King. I've spent the night reading sealed documents from King Maddoxon's archives. Would you like me to read them aloud? Would you like everyone here to know exactly what happened? The old noble's eyes narrowed. Perhaps such discussions should be private, council chambers, not public halls. Perhaps, Lamar took a step forward. But first, let me make something crystal clear. Alice is under my protection. She will remain in the palace. She will be guarded. And anyone who threatens her in any way will be considered a direct threat to me. He let his wolf rise close enough that his eyes flashed silver. Challenge me if you disagree. Step forward right now and challenge me for the right to rule this pack. No one moved. Challenging an Alpha King was suicide. Everyone in the hall knew it. Nivra's hands clenched into fists at her sides. We had a betrothal contract, Lamar. My family has served yours for 3 generations. You can't just throw me aside for some stray you found in the streets. I didn't find her. The Luna chose her for me. His voice was absolute, final. The betrothal contract is void. Your family will be compensated for any agreements made, but there will be no marriage between us, ever. Tears of rage filled Nivra's emerald eyes. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I see here is nobles overstepping their position. He turned his back on them deliberately, an insult, showing he didn't consider them a threat. Return to your territories. This discussion is over. The nobles had no choice but to bow and leave, but Alice saw the way Nivra's gaze followed her, pure hatred burning in those emerald depths. This wasn't over. When they were alone again, Lamar pulled Alice into his arms. She went willingly, burying her face against his chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm causing you so many problems. You're not causing anything. They're revealing who they really are. He tilted her chin up. And it's making my job easier. Now I know exactly who needs to be investigated. Over the next 2 weeks, Lamar threw himself into the investigation. Alice watched from her new position as acknowledged mate, learning pack politics, building relationships with wolves who once showed her contempt but now offered careful respect. The mate bond grew stronger each day. Lamar was careful with her, patient. He never pushed for physical intimacy beyond gentle touches, though Alice could feel his wolf's hunger through their connection. She appreciated his restraint, even as her own wolf grew restless for more. They worked together in the archives. Lamar taught her to read better, showing her how to decipher old documents. She proved to have a gift for finding patterns he missed, small details that connected larger conspiracies. They discovered that 3 noble families profited most from stolen Moonborn territories: the Ravenholts, the Lockamirs, and the Grimwells. Each received vast holdings in the north after the purge. Elder Zarek Grimwell's involvement ran deeper than they initially thought. He wasn't just an advisor, he was the architect. But proving it was another matter. Zarek was clever. He covered his tracks well. No documents bore his signature on anything directly incriminating. Until Alice had a vision. She woke one night gasping. Silver light filled her vision. The Luna's presence wrapped around her like warm moonlight. Beneath the chapel, hidden vault, his insurance against betrayal. The voice faded. Alice was left trembling in Lamar's bed, certainty flooding through her. She knew where the evidence was hidden. Lamar. He was at her side instantly, having sensed her distress through the bond. What happened? The Luna showed me, her voice shook. There's a vault beneath the chapel, Zarek's journals, his real records. He kept them as insurance against the other conspirators. Lamar's eyes blazed with fierce satisfaction. Then we're going to find them. They retrieved the journals at dawn, a hidden vault exactly where Alice's vision showed them. Inside, leather-bound books written in Zarek's own hand. Detailed records of every murder, every payoff, every lie. 21 years of conspiracy, laid bare in black ink. Lamar had Zarek arrested immediately. The old elder went pale when guards dragged him from his chambers. He tried to maintain his composure, but fear cracked through his mask. This is a mistake, Alpha King. I've served your family loyally. You orchestrated the murder of innocent wolves. Lamar's voice was ice. Including infants, that's not loyalty, that's treason. The trial was set for 3 days later. Public, in the grand hall where Alice had first transformed. Every Pack family would witness the evidence, would see justice served. But Nivra wasn't finished. On the second night, Alice woke to shouting outside Lamar's chambers. Multiple voices, angry and afraid. She bolted upright as Lamar came through the door, his expression thunderous. Stay here, lock the door behind me. What's happening? Nivra has convinced half the noble families that you've bewitched me. They're demanding I hand you over for trial. His eyes flashed silver. I'm going to explain to them why that will never happen. He turned to leave, but Alice caught his arm. No, if this is about me, I should face them. Absolutely not. They'll tear you apart. Alice lifted her chin, channeling courage she didn't quite feel. They'll tear us both apart if you choose me over the entire nobility. Let me show them I'm not afraid." She pulled on the robe he'd given her, simple but well-made. "The Luna blessed me. If they have a problem with that, they can take it up with her." Something like pride flickered across Lamar's face. "You're either very brave or very foolish. I survived 21 years sleeping under bridges. I can survive a room full of angry nobles." They emerged together. The hallway was packed with nobles. Nivra stood at the front, her beautiful face twisted with rage. She'd abandoned silk for leather and steel. Battle dress. "There," she pointed at Alice with a shaking hand. "You see, she's already moved into his chambers like some common whore." Several wolves growled agreement. The sound made Alice's skin prickle. Lamar's power slammed into them like a physical wave, driving them back, making the weaker ones drop to their knees. "Anyone who insults my mate again will lose their tongue. Try me." Nivra's composure was cracking. "She's not your mate. She's a rogue, a nobody, probably a dark witch who enchanted you." Her voice rose. "We had a betrothal contract, Lamar. My family has served yours for 3 generations. You can't just throw me aside for this barn rat." Alice's voice rang out stronger than she expected. "The Luna herself turned to bless me. If you think I'm a witch or a fraud, then you're calling the Luna a liar. Is that really the accusation you want to make?" The nobles shifted uncomfortably. Challenging another wolf was acceptable. Challenging divine will was not. Elder Averic Lockmere pushed forward. His expression was carefully neutral. "No one questions the statue's movement, Miss Alice, but there are concerns about circumstances. The Moonborn line was destroyed for attempting to overthrow the previous Alpha King. If you carry their blood, you carry their treason." The Moonborn line was destroyed because King Maddoxon feared their power. Lamar's words cut through the crowd like a blade. Every wolf fell silent. "I've spent 2 weeks in sealed archives, reading documents that show Maddoxon ordered the massacre himself, unprovoked, because he believed the Moonborn were becoming too influential with the people." Gasps rippled through the assembly. "My predecessor was a tyrant who murdered an entire bloodline of innocent people, including infants, because he was too weak to share power." His arm wrapped around Alice's shoulders, protective, possessive. "Alice is the last survivor of that massacre. She is my mate, chosen by the Luna, and she will be Luna Queen of this pack. Anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me directly." Deadly silence fell. Challenging an Alpha King was suicide. Everyone knew it. But Nivra, driven by jealousy and humiliation, stepped forward. "I challenge her, not you her." Her eyes blazed with hatred. "Let her prove she deserves the title of Luna Queen, or is the precious Starlight Wolf too weak to fight her own battles?" "Nivra, don't." "I accept." Alice's words surprised even herself, but she could feel her wolf surging beneath her skin, eager, unafraid. This needed to happen. When and where? Nivra's vicious smile returned. "Right now, right here, first shift wins dominance." The crowd pulled back, forming a rough circle in the wide hallway. Lamar gripped Alice's arm, his expression torn between pride and terror. "You don't have to do this. I can stop it. I need to do this, for myself." She looked up at him, saw the fear in his eyes, felt the mate bond pulse with his concern. "Trust me, trust my wolf." He released her slowly, stepped to the circle's edge. His warning to Nivra was deadly serious. "If you kill her, I'll execute you myself." Alice's quiet confidence surprised her. She'll submit long before it comes to that. They faced each other across 10 feet of obsidian floor. Nivra shifted first. Her transformation was smooth and practiced. A beautiful russet wolf, sleek and powerful, easily the size of a large beta. She snarled, showing teeth, radiating aggression and dominance. Alice closed her eyes, let her wolf free. The transformation was faster this time, easier, and when she opened her golden eyes, her starlight wolf was even larger than before. Well-fed for the first time in her life, safe for the first time ever, expanding into her true size. The light that blazed from her fur was blinding. Nivra lunged without warning. Nivra's teeth aimed for Alice's throat, a killing move, designed to end the fight instantly. But Alice's wolf moved with instincts honed by years of hunting with wild packs. She twisted aside. Nivra's teeth closed on empty air. Alice didn't counterattack. She simply stood her ground. Her light intensified until it was almost blinding. Every wolf in the hallway had to shield their eyes. Nivra circled, snarling, snapping, trying to find an opening. But every time she got close, the light pushed her back, like a physical barrier made of starlight and divine will. Then pressure filled the palace. Ancient, terrible, beautiful. Alice felt it first. Her wolf dropped low, but not in submission, in reverence. Every other wolf in the hallway dropped to the ground, foreheads pressed to obsidian, trembling. The Luna's voice echoed in every mind simultaneously. Enough. The single word carried weight that made the palace walls shake, power that made even Lamar bow his head. The Luna statue in the grand hall blazed with light, visible through the walls themselves as if stone had become transparent. Silver threads of divine power stretched through the palace, connecting directly to Alice's glowing form. Alice was lifted off her paws, suspended in midair as divine presence filled every corner. This one is mine, marked by my hand, blessed by my light, chosen to restore what was stolen. The voice was gentle as moonlight, absolute as death. Any who raise claw or tooth against her, raise them against me. The presence faded slowly. Alice settled gently back to the floor, her legs shook, her heart hammered. Around her, nobles were weeping, trembling, some praying aloud to the Luna for forgiveness. Nivra had shifted back to human. She was curled on the ground with her hands over her face, sobbing. Alice shifted as well. Lamar was there instantly, wrapping her in his cloak, pulling her against his chest. His hands shook as they gripped her. That was, I've never seen. He couldn't finish a sentence. You're incredible. Elder Zarek was on his knees, but his eyes were still calculating when he looked up. The Luna has spoken. We acknowledge her will. A pause, too practiced. But Alpha King, there is still the matter of investigating the Moonborn purge. If King Maddoxon truly ordered it, there may have been accomplices, co-conspirators who still hold positions of power. Lamar's expression hardened. Then we root them out, all of them. He looked down at Alice, his mate, his Luna Queen chosen by the moon goddess herself. Starting tomorrow, tonight my mate needs rest. He carried her back to his chambers despite her protests, dismissed lingering nobles with a snarl, locked the door. Inside the safety of his rooms, he set her on the bed, knelt in front of her, took her hands in his. I know this is fast. I know you barely know me, but I need to say this. He pressed his forehead to their clasped hands. You are the bravest person I've ever met. You survived horrors that would have broken anyone else. You faced down a challenge you had every right to refuse, and the Luna herself claimed you in front of the entire kingdom. He looked up, silver eyes intense with emotion. I swear to you, Alice, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never sleep under a bridge again, that you never go hungry, that you never feel worthless. His voice went raw, honest in a way that stripped away all his alpha authority. Let me take care of you. Let me be worthy of you. Tears spilled down Alice's cheeks. You already are. He kissed her hands, pulled her into an embrace that felt like coming home. The mate bond sang between them, warm and certain and complete. Alice's wolf settled for the first time in her entire life. Content, safe, loved. The trial happened 2 weeks later. Public, in the grand hall where everything began, every pack family summoned to witness. Zarek's journals were read aloud, his cold calculations about which Moonborn children to kill first, which territories to seize, how much profit each conspirator would receive. His composure shattered as the evidence mounted. I was following orders. I was young, I didn't. You murdered an infant's entire family and left her to die in the ruins. Lamar's voice was absolute. The only reason she survived was because wild wolves showed her more compassion than any shifter did. He stood in full Alpha King authority. Every wolf in the hall felt his power. For orchestrating the murder of innocents, you are sentenced to execution at dawn. You will receive the same mercy you showed them. None. 3 co-conspirators followed Zarek to execution. Elder Thorneck Ravenholt, who funded the assassins. Lord Elric Hawkridge, who provided soldiers. Lady Vesha Nightford, who helped cover up evidence. Justice was served. But that night, Alice stood on Lamar's balcony overlooking the forest, feeling only emptiness. They're gone, all of them. I can never know who my parents were, what they were like if they loved me. Lamar came up behind her, wrapped arms around her waist. You know they loved you. They hid you in the ruins, wrapped you in blankets, protected you enough to survive the fire. That was love. I wish I remembered them. Maybe you will. Moonborn wolves were said to carry generational memories in their bloodlines. As you grow into your power, you might access them. He turned her in his arms, wiped tears from her cheeks. But even if you don't, you have a family now. You have me. You have this pack. He pulled out a small velvet box, opened it to reveal a ring unlike any Alice had ever seen. Silver metal shaped like a crescent moon, a white gem in the center that glowed with inner light. Starlight captured in stone. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. I know this is fast, but I've never been more certain of anything. He took her hand. Alice, last of the Moonborn line, blessed by the Luna, keeper of my heart, will you marry me? Will you be my Luna queen? Alice's wolf sang with joy. The mate bond pulled her toward him like gravity. She'd spent 21 years alone. She didn't want to be alone anymore. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto her finger, kissed her like she was the most precious thing in his world. The mate bond blazed between them, sealing the commitment. Her wolf howled in triumph. 3 months later, under a full moon, they were married. The ceremony took place in the palace gardens. The entire kingdom assembled to witness. Alice wore white and silver, the starlight gem at her throat. The Luna crown placed upon her head, delicate silver shaped like moon phases. The Luna statue had been moved to a place of honor behind the ceremonial altar. It glowed throughout the vows. Lamar waited in formal alpha regalia, but his expression when he saw her was pure adoration. You're beautiful. You're not so bad yourself. The priestess of the Luna oversaw the ceremony. When Lamar spoke the binding vows, power blazed between them. I claim you as my mate, my Luna, my queen. From this day until the end of our days, you are mine as I am yours. I accept your claim. From this day until the end of our days, I am yours as you are mine. The mate bond flared bright enough to see, silver and white light intertwining around them. The crowd gasped, then erupted in cheers. From deep in the forest, wild wolves howled, celebrating the lost pup who became a queen. Lamar kissed her in front of everyone, possessive and tender and absolutely shameless. I present to you Luna Queen Alice Ironville, blessed of the Luna, last of the Moonborn line, and the love of my life. The feast that followed lasted until dawn, but eventually Lamar pulled her away, led her to the same balcony where he'd proposed. Happy, more than I ever dreamed possible. He wrapped arms around her from behind. They watched moonlight paint the forest silver. Somewhere out there, the wild wolves who raised her were watching too. She could feel them, feel their approval, their joy that she found her place. I wish I could tell them thank you. They know, Lamar's voice was warm. We should establish a sanctuary for them, protected territory where they can live without fear. Really? They gave me the most precious gift in my world. The least I can do is ensure they're safe. Alice turned in his arms, overwhelmed by love for this male who understood her so completely. How did I get so lucky? The Luna chose well. He cupped her face. I promise you, Alice, every day for the rest of our lives, I will make sure you know how loved you are, how valued, how absolutely essential you are to me and to this kingdom. I know, I can feel it in the bond. She pulled him down for a kiss. But I'm still going to need you to remind me frequently. I think I can manage that. They stayed on the balcony until the moon reached its peak, wrapped in each other and in the certainty of their bond. The girl who slept under bridges had become a queen. The lonely outcast raised by wild wolves had found her true pack. And the alpha king, who thought he'd marry for politics, had instead found a mate who made his heart sing. Under the Luna's watchful eye, in a kingdom finally healed from old wounds and older crimes, Alice and Lamar began there forever. Two souls perfectly matched, bound by fate and blessed by the moon. The starlight wolf had found her home, and she would never be alone again.